This is an important day. World Prematurity Day actually happens tomorrow, but commemorating today as well. Why is this so important for women to know, in cases of having premature children? What do they need to know?
Information is power. And when women get sufficient information from the time they're pregnant up until when they get their babies, they are more empowered to take care of themselves and to take care of their babies. So we are in this because we just want to spread as much information as possible, just so we can empower women to be able to take care of their own pregnancies and their babies. This particular Prematurity Day is particularly for us. We are very much excited about it because the theme is partnering with families. Yeah, so empowering families with information so that they can participate in the care of their babies. Yeah.
And what are some of the unique challenges that parents who do have premature babies go through, beyond the fact that they are significantly smaller? There's other challenges that come with.
Yeah, of course, quite many challenges. And first and foremost, it's just the mom's own mental health. Yeah. And if she's been affected, and majority of us get affected emotionally, it's such a toll mentally on you, then you're not in a position to make, what can I say, good choices. Yeah, and good choices are important. But when you're in a state, sort of you're wrecked emotionally, or you're facing a hard time, you're not able to first organize yourself properly and take care of that baby. Already you're going through a difficult time mentally, emotionally, and then you have a very vulnerable baby to take care of. So if you're not sorted out yourself first, it's very difficult to take care of this very vulnerable baby. So of course there is the mental health issues that mothers go through, and then also the very difficult task of taking care of a very underweight baby, sick baby, or a baby living with a disability.
I mean, you mentioned the difficulty. Most mothers, once they deliver the child, you want to hold the child. Exactly. For premature babies, you cannot do that. Ukami, that was your story. Triplets, such a blessing to have 3 children, and then something went wrong. Take us through your story.
I had a difficult pregnancy to begin with, so I was put on bed rest most of the pregnancy. I think most of it I was on bed rest. Then I got to a point where labor came. I thought it was just one of those days when I would get admitted to hospital, but then it was full-blown labor. In about 6 hours I was fully dilated, but I couldn't deliver normally because of the size of the babies and how they were positioned. So I had to go into an emergency CS. And I was 28 weeks pregnant. So they were 1 kg each. They had to be rushed into the NICU, the neonatal intensive care unit. And we began the journey from there. I was in a private facility, so the care was much different there than what you find in the public facilities. And the good thing about this celebration today is that we're focusing on kangaroo mother care, which is one of the things that, one of the innovations that is there today to help the child and the mother have contact. Because usually when they're so tiny, they're in the incubator for so long, you cannot breastfeed them because of they don't have the strength to breastfeed, and they also won't get enough nourishment from breastfeeding because they generally are not strong enough. Yeah, so kangaroo mother care helps you get into contact with the baby. It's skin to skin for the mom, the dad, and even a family member where a parent may not be able to give that care. And that is also what we did after the kids go from using oxygen. So you're able to get skin to skin contact, and you're able to at least get into contact with the child, and that way they also develop the senses that a term baby develops immediately, like wanting to breastfeed. Slowly you see them smelling the milk and turning towards your breast.
And how long were they in the incubator for?
My first baby, she passed on 2 days. After 2 days, and the other one, the second triplet, was in the incubator for about 7 weeks. then 3 weeks out of the incubator just to gain weight. My other triplet didn't make it out of the incubator because he had issues with his brain issues and lung issues. But most times the outcomes of the preterm babies vary. Yeah. Because all babies are different. You find other babies are born at a lesser weight, but because of the care given before delivery, they spend less time at the facility, at the incubator. And then also because of different outcomes generally.
Right.
Different, these babies are just strong in another way. You'll find the tiniest baby making it out. Some of the bigger babies don't because of different issues. You find even when they stay in the incubator, some develop immense, a lot of brain damage due to resuscitation. Others will have issues with the eyes because of exposure to too much oxygen. So it really varies. Yeah.
I mean, you raise a very important point, the care that comes right after. And this is regardless of whether it's a preemie baby or even a normal birth. But, you know, Ruby, when you're talking about the necessary support, in public hospitals, I keep hearing the word NICU, which is almost synonymous with preemie babies.
Yes.
You know, do we have sufficient facilities and expertise to be able to handle cases like premature births properly?
Yeah, you know, my perspective is a parent's perspective, and from the experiences that I've gone through and all the moms that we've interacted with, we have good care, both in private and public facilities, I can tell you for sure. In public healthcare, of course, we have many mothers and they are crowded, but you see what the trends now are, we are moving away from the incubator to kangaroo mother care. So it is good. So many public healthcare facilities have gone onto developing facilities where mothers can give full-time kangaroo mother care. KNH has that. So when the baby is a bit stable, they are taken to the KMC room, kangaroo mother care room, where the mother holds the baby for 24 hours. So the care is good because incubators are very expensive, and then there's so much detachment between the mother and the baby. Kangaroo mother care is just a wonderful innovation, and it is very affordable and easy to implement. Yeah, so we're actually moving away from incubators and going into full-blown kangaroo mother care. So the care in hospitals, so many hospitals have upped their game, and I can tell for sure we are moving towards a good place. Where we've come from has not been too good, but right now where we are and where we are going to is good.
For a mother who could be watching now and is wondering, could I be at risk for having a premature birth? Are there any causes to this?
Yes, mostly we are told that prematurity occurs spontaneously. Yeah, of course there are conditions that would predispose you to prematurity. If you have high blood pressure, things like that will predispose you. If you have issues like diabetes in pregnancy, if you get sick and get malaria. Sometimes they say malnutrition predisposes you. Sometimes they say if very young mothers, teen mothers would have their babies come early. But mostly it's just spontaneously, like what she said. She just went into labor, which is very, very spontaneous. I get a condition called preeclampsia, which is also, I think, a spontaneous condition because before, when I'm not pregnant, I'm not sick. I don't have blood pressure. But when I get pregnant is when I get blood pressure and preeclampsia. Yeah, so mostly they just occur spontaneously. So yes, I think every mom out there and every expectant mom is at risk of a preterm delivery because there's really nothing that can say you and you can get it. Yeah, so it is important to be very vigilant when you're pregnant and attending your clinics. We reach out to pregnant moms and tell them you have to, even if it is your fourth baby or your fifth baby you're getting, still go to hospital, attend your clinics, because it's important. It's important. Some of these things can be seen early and nipped in the bud, and then you don't have to go through the entire prematurity process.
Right. Yeah. I mean, in this, we alluded to it a bit, but I feel, Mukami, I really need to hear from you and another mother as well, your mental state. You know, having gone through something like this, it was not easy having lost 2 children. You have hope for raising them to be, you know, great human beings in society. How did you get through that very rough spot in that process?
To be honest, it's tough. It's tough because, number one, we don't understand what is going on. For my case, I was a first-time mom, but even in other cases, like the NICU experience alone is terrifying enough. It's traumatizing. I watched one of my babies breathe her last. So it's something that you take away. Even today, like, I still have the mental image of what happened. And we, as a society, we don't take care of grieving moms as we should. We tend to hide things under the rug and be like, oh, you're still young, at least you have one left. You'll still have more children. It happened for a reason and all this, and we don't talk about it enough. And when we have cases of moms doing funny things when having small babies, we accuse them of being evil and all that, but mainly it's because of depression. Depression is real. Yeah. Mental illness is real. Yeah. And for me, I am happy I had a supportive family who were able to tell the signs, and I was able to get the care I needed. I still have those moments. I still have my low moments up to today. But I think the most important thing is to be aware of the fact that when a mom goes through the NICU, when you lose a child, even a normal mom who just has a baby and sometimes it's overwhelming, there is a possibility, a very high possibility, that they will need care for their mental state. Because once we don't do this, then we have issues even with how we give the baby care. We neglect the baby. We refuse to see the signs of maybe there's something wrong with the baby. And eventually, we even lose the mom to the mental illness.
Right. Right. So making sure that both mother and baby are well taken care of. Speaking of which, because when you do have a premature baby, of course you have to be in the hospital a lot longer. Yeah. And inquiring minds, aka family and friends, wondering, why can't we see the baby now? Yeah. You know, how do you manage that kind of pressure and anticipation of people from the outside who don't know the situation? And also kind of helping mothers know how to communicate this to people who don't know, are not privy.
Yeah, it's a big issue, and unfortunately for many moms, normally they have to face that the very first time when they get a preterm baby. So they worry, nobody plans for a preterm baby, right? Yeah. So then there you are, and then you have to manage family and friends, and it's not easy, it's tough. So information, actually what we are doing right now is helpful, because what we are trying to do is create awareness, let the communities know, let the people know, so that when they come across a mother within their circles who's going through the prematurity experience, they know how to interact with them. Yes, but when you're a mother and you're in that position, it's normally a very difficult place to be with. Many people don't understand. They want to come and see the baby. Sometimes even after you've been discharged from hospital, and they want to come home and see the baby. Us preterm mothers don't really expose our children. We hide them in the bedroom when the visitors come, and we just let them have a peek, because, you know, they are very vulnerable, and they could get infections easily. People don't really understand. They say, you know, babies are born and they go through these things. So the first baby we are seeing, but we know where we've come from. We know how easily that baby can get sick and go back to hospital, and we don't want to go back here. So it's quite tough to manage that when you're in that space. But we are using our experiences to just educate the public, to just reach out and raise awareness on prematurity. The awareness, the information is not really out there, and when people don't really know about it, they'll make up stories and things like that. So by sharing our own stories, our experiences, and reaching out and talking to people, we hope we are raising awareness, and when people know, then we are creating strong support systems. There'll be a lot more support within the communities. Yeah.
And Mukami, I just want to make this conversation also as practical as possible. Just taking myself into the mind of a mother who thinks, okay, so you've been in hospital, you've had the care, now you're bringing baby home, and the care is upon you. What are some of the things a parent needs to take into consideration with their preemie once they get home? Because you don't have the nurse and the doctors there and the equipment. It's you home and the baby.
I think number one thing to observe is cleanliness, just general cleanliness in terms of your hands. They have to be clean all the time when you're holding the baby. Dust, you have to dust your house as much as possible because of they can't breathe in the dust and they have issues with the lungs. Of course, visitors. My doctor recommends a whole year without visitors. Most will recommend about 6 months after you get home, not the baby is 6 months, because sometimes we leave the hospital when the baby is 2 months, 3 months, 4 months. So for 6 months, no visitors, and even if there are visitors, just maybe a pick. No one with a cold around the baby. Like a cold is a no-no. Even when you get the cold, like sometimes you really have to take care of yourself because you can't get a cold. Because once you get a cold and you're the primary caregiver, then that means you're exposing the baby. And these babies are so delicate in a way that if they get a cold, they're back to the NICU. That's the problem. And then, of course, you avoid things like carpets in the house because they store a lot of dust. And depending on a doctor and depending on a baby's need, most of the times you're given supplements, the calcium, the iron, sometimes the folic acid. You have to adhere to this, what the doctor tells you to give. And I think most of the times the baby just needs a lot of care. They're so delicate, a lot of care. Of course, you have to take care of who is taking care of them. Don't expose them to so many house managers. If you have one, make sure she's also okay. Like even if it means to get her tested for things like TB. Because you have to protect your baby at this point. Yeah, so, and people don't understand this. And of course, we watch out for the milestones. So sometimes you might find a baby needs occupational therapy. Like in my case, my baby had stayed in fetal position for so long. Up to about 4 months, he couldn't hold his neck. So we had to get some occupational therapy just to help him reach his milestones. And of course we have a lot of things that babies who are behind their milestones. So you have to get the necessary care when it gets alarming that they've delayed for too long. Of course there's the usual delay because we also count their age in terms of adjusted age. If he was born 12 weeks early, so you look at the milestones and take it 12 weeks behind. So if he's 1 year, probably he's meeting the milestones of a 9-month-old baby. So those are some of the things. And of course, don't compare your baby. That's the one thing you never do. Don't compare your baby to term babies because sometimes they're so tiny, their milestones are delayed, and they're just special in their own way.